So part A is asking you to write an equation for the line tangent to the graph of k at x equals 3. Ooh, line tangent to the graph, everybody. What should you be thinking? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You are so smart. Now, here's the thing. The only thing that they gave us was x1. So not only do we have to find the slope, but we also need to find the y1 because they did not give us that. However, let's see. We wanted the line tangent to the graph of k. Well, they did give us this, didn't they? So let's see what we can do with that. So I basically am looking for k of 3, which would be f of g of 3. So the first thing that we have to figure out is what is g of 3. Well, that's easy enough. There it is right there. It's 6. Right? And then after that, we are going to find f of 6. And that is easy enough. It's right there. So then that would mean that k of 3 is going to be equal to 4. So y minus 4 equals m times x minus 3. All right. Last thing then we need to do is we need to find the slope, don't we? And you know how we find slope. We take the derivative. So I am going to take k prime, and we are going to have to do a little bit of chain rule action here. So we've got f prime of g of x times g prime of x. And then we're going to plug in 3. So we are going to do f prime of g of 3 times g prime of 3. Okay, pause me, work it out. And there you go. So you pause me again if you got it wrong, check it out, look it over, see where you made your mistake. So you should end up with 10. So your final answer is going to be y minus 4 equals 10 times x minus 3. Part B wants you to find the derivative. We want to evaluate it at 1, but let's take the derivative first. So what rule are we going to have to use to get that derivative? And that's the quotient rule, right? So remember the quotient rule is low, d high, minus high, d low, over low squared. And we're going to square that, right? Okay, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 1. And so f of 1 times g prime of 1 minus g of 1 times f prime of 1. Oh man, if you got a question like this on the AP, I would be doing the Irish jig. And this would be f of 1. Square that. Okay, pause me, work it out. And there is your answer, -3/2. Go back and pause me if you got it wrong. Check the work. I just looked everything up in that chart. All right, so I wrote a couple things down for you, and I just kind of want to show you this. So it's asking you to evaluate the second derivative integrated from 1 to 3. Now, I want to look up here first, because this says 2x, which is a little bit different than what I have here. If I just had this, isn't the integral of the second derivative, wouldn't that just be the first derivative? So that would just be f prime of x, right? And then I would evaluate that from 1 to 3. So this is the point I'm trying to make. Since this is just a plain old regular x, it's very easy to integrate f double prime and get f prime. However, down here we don't have just a plain old regular x. So what are you going to have to do to integrate? Think of the extra thing that we always usually have to do if it's just not like a normal x. And that would be u substitution. So we're going to have u be 2x. So then my du will be 2 dx. So then if we look at this, I need to have a 2 here, which means I need a 1/2 here. What's the other thing, though, that I also need to do? And hopefully you're thinking that you have to change your bounds as well. Okay, so let me do that in the next step here. So I'm going to have 1/2. Now let's change the bounds. How do we change these bounds? How do I change those? Remember that those bounds always go into your u. So the top bound is going to become a 6 and the bottom bound is going to become a 2. And now I have f double prime of u du. And now I can just do my normal integration. So when I integrate that, I am going to get 1/2 f prime of u, and I'm going to evaluate that from 2 to 6. Okay, so that's 1/2 of f prime of 6 minus f prime of 2. And look, that's really not that bad. Look that up in the chart, see what you get. Pause me and figure it out. All right, and there is the answer. So the answer is 7/2.